You look like you're dying of like 5 things right now.
Is creating a podcast intro really that hard?
You know what? Actually, I have somebody working on it right now, but it's not done yet.
Okay, I was wondering because I was like, we just like start talking, and I never listened to the podcast, and Lauren's like, y'all need to have some kind of intro because it sucks. And,
This message brought to you by
and I listened to it. Yeah, I was like, those kind of just suck. We just kind of start. But
I feel like that's how half the podcasts I listen to are. They just start all the Canadian ones.
It is, but it sounds different. Because that's exactly what I told Lauren. I was like, no, that's how it goes. That's how all the cool kids are doing it. You know, that's how Joe Rogan starts. That's how like Mark Maron starts and stuff. But then I listened to ours. I'm like, that sounds way crappier than like nothing. It's just
maybe
go to iTunes and just click, and it's just we're talking. I'm like, oh, did I miss 10 minutes of this? Or
yes, you did. Stuff that we can't talk about on here.
Yeah,
try not to get canceled over here.
Yeah. By all the 5 people, we're competing with Ernie and his Exodus videos tonight. That's our 9:30 time slot competition.
Competition of who's more unqualified to give their opinion on stuff.
This is the WCW versus WWF Monday night.
Oh God, I'm worried. Which one are we?
The battle for Wednesday night.
We're WWF.
Oh, we're for sure not.
Oh, what?
Are we? That puts us in a bad spot. Who's Stone Cold Steve Austin?
World Wildlife Federation. I am.
Uh-oh. Can they not see you, Julian?
I hope they can because I'm right here.
Yeah.
Hiroshi. Oh, I can see you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my camera's on.
What's Hiroshi mean? What's up, Hiroshi?
Hiroshima. All right. So tonight we were going to talk about something, but we are just fed up. We got a lot of problems, and tonight you're going to hear about them. This is our airing of grievances. So better buckle up.
We're just going to complain the whole time.
Yeah.
I feel like we should work that into Christmas for real, though.
Hey, this what I woke up this morning with this thought in the shower.
Make it a good one.
Yeah, this thought was, and I thought about posting it, but I don't post. So I was thinking, you effers better figure this out because it's almost fall, and we gave you Easter through 4th of July. We're not giving you October. We're not giving you Halloween.
They can have Halloween. Christmas. I don't like Halloween. That's fine.
We're not giving you those.
Well, that's because you don't like fun.
Well, I love it. Yeah.
That's because I don't like evil.
You don't like Easter either, so I don't want to hear it. So.
I don't like the Easter bunny.
You don't even like Christmas.
You don't like celebrating.
You're right.
You don't like celebrating Ishtar either, so I don't want to hear it. All right.
If you don't want to get in with our culturally appropriate holidays, we have nothing to say to you.
Stealing all those holidays.
You know the problem.
Taking it back.
There's way too many people that are on the opposite side of you and are like, no, we'll give up all the holidays. We don't need to do anything.
No, they won't, bro. People can give up Easter because then they don't got to go see their mom at church. You know what I mean? But they're not going to give up Halloween.
There's still people wearing gloves.
There's so many people that have given up Halloween. So many.
Not people that are like part of society.
Corona people. Yeah.
Yes. Real people.
Real people or like Facebook people because there's a divide.
Oh, just the fake Facebook people?
Yeah, not your crazy Facebook followers.
Yeah, they're real on Facebook, but they're not like contributing to society in any way.
Come on. Halloween is terrible.
Oh, come on.
No, you get to dress up as fictional characters and
okay, so does your church do like a harvest festival and like instead of
I'm not gonna do a harvest festival either. No,
they don't celebrate things, Solomon. There's nothing to celebrate in this
world. There's no fun in this family.
Yeah. Actually, I'm getting that. Is that like, are you like no Halloween? I don't think we've talked about that. We've talked about how you're no Christmas and Easter. You know Halloween either?
No, listen. We will celebrate Christmas as Christ's birth, even though we don't know for sure if that's the time. We'll celebrate Christ during that time, but we do not do Santa. We do not do Easter Bunny. We do not do the Tooth Fairy.
What do you mean? Do Santa and Easter? Like, what do you mean? Like, we don't do Santa? Like,
if you were to ask my I do love Thanksgiving. If you were to ask my 5-year-old about Santa, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's just a cartoon." Like
That's mine. That's what we would say. But I would never say we don't do Santa. Like we watch the Santa Claus movies. Do you watch those?
I mean,
You don't watch Elf?
Do you watch Mickey
Elf
Mouse
is great.
movies?
Elf is great.
But what I'm saying is, like, say a fictional character. My kid believes in Santa Claus like he believes in Chewbacca and Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's not real, but it's fun.
Okay, so, but that's different.
That's what I'm saying.
Most kids really do believe in Santa Claus like he's this flying little dude around the whole world.
Yeah, I never believed that, and I never cared. I think kids don't care as long as they get presents.
That's not true. You know? My husband was against Christmas before because his feelings were so hurt that Santa was not real.
Well, but did he believe in it first and then got told? Yeah, I never believed in it, and I never cared. I think if you never believe in it, kids don't care.
Yeah,
if it's always cartoon character, then kids don't care. But if it's like, oh man, he was real, now he's not, that that sucks. But yeah, if it's just, that's why I like, oh, we don't do Santa. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I would even take my kids to take a picture with Santa the way I would take a picture with a guy in a Mickey Mouse suit. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is to my kids. It's just the fun character, the cartoon character. It's not, but they don't think it's real. Yeah. I remember whenever I was a kid, because I never believed in Santa Claus. And then I remember going to school and other kids talking about Santa as if he was real. And that freaked me out. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, when he comes tomorrow or whatever. And I'm like, you think it was weird because I thought they were like talking down to me because I heard adults talk that way. And so I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And then, but to hear a kid say it, I was like, what do you think? You're like older than me or something? Or like you're smarter than me, whatever. And it was weird. And then it dawned on me, I was like, well, then it was like, holy crap, this kid thinks Santa Claus is coming to his house.
Yeah, how many people did you ruin it for?
Everyone. I ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, all the time.
I was like, Santa.
We have a picture of me when I'm like 4 years old at Easter, where my dad is holding my sister and my mom is holding me, and you can tell she's telling me something. And she's telling me that before we go to this family gathering, I can't announce to the other children that the Easter Bunny's not real.
I had to do that to my 5-year-old.
My kids are going to be the ministers of truth to everyone. They're going
to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You're going to have the actually kids? Actually.
Actually... Ishtar is
oh, those people are the worst. I despise them as much as I despise the second commandment violation people. I don't know who posted that, but I was ready to lose, and I was like,
it was Solomon. It wasn't me. It was Solomon.
Well, because they came after you when you posted a meme. I remember that.
The statues, bringing down statues. Yeah. Tear them down.
I mean, I'm fine with it, but not for the like. I hate the people that are like, oh, you can't draw it, you can't paint it, you can't build something of it. It's all second commandment violation. Like, really? If you draw it, are you automatically bowing down to it?
No. So, like, Doug Wilson spoke real good about that. He wrote about in that his Catholic book about images of Jesus, right? And he was saying that, like, a portrait intended for admiration and glorification and awe or whatever is not okay of Jesus or what you might think would be Jesus. But a scene of Jesus with the disciples or something is okay because it's not, you're depicting a scene. You're illustrating a story or a point in the Bible. It's not like, hey, look, worship this, admire it as a portrait. So there's a difference between a portrait and like a scene as far as paintings go. You're saying painting a scene is okay, but if you're painting a portrait of Jesus for glorification, that's not okay.
So what if you glorify the scene?
That's what he's saying is like, it's harder to do that. Like you're depicting the scene.
Find a way.
The scene is, him praying in the garden or something, or with the disciples or something, or him, I don't know, just walking or just whatever the Bible story, him healing whatever is like, it's harder to, the point isn't look at this image of Jesus and worship it. It's look at him healing the leper or something, so, or the blind. So it's like, he made a difference there, I guess. And I don't know, maybe just some more nuance to it rather than like no drawings, no paintings, no whatever.
You're already at odds with half of the Reform community on the internet. They're like, none at all. Can't do anything.
I mean, I like the old like religious paintings and stuff. I mean, I don't think that they're what everything looked like really. But
so what do you think? What do you think about Akiana's drawing? Her painting that she did when Akiana, when she was like 8 years old.
Boo, over it. Not on board. It's one of those, like, I had a vision of Jesus when I was a kid and I painted it.
But she was like 6 or 8 when she did that painting.
I'm not sure.
It's very skilled. I'm not saying it's not skilled.
So skilled.
Yeah, she's very good at painting, but it's like, oh, this is Jesus. Like, okay, sure. It's like one of those heaven is for real. Yeah,
you're gonna have to look it up.
It's like one of those heaven is for real kids.
Her name's Akiana. She's like an 8-year-old that said she had like dreams and visions and like painted. I mean, she painted a really spectacular painting. But...
You see Jesus in her tortilla. A water stain.
It was
You ever seen those people? They're like, oh, this water stain looks like the Virgin Mary.
She's not in South Texas. She doesn't get it enough. It's all the time here.
Yeah, all the time here.
No, it's like one of those heaven is for real kids where they're like, oh, I saw the afterlife or whatever.
Oh, jeez. Those kids' third eye opened up. Their pineal gland opened up in a little bit.
It's not. That's why I drink so much Diet Coke to keep my third eye from opening up. I don't want none of that demonic oppression coming in.
Keep myself calcified.
Calcified all day. Fluoride and calcium all day.
Oh man.
So
yeah,
I'm with you. Where it's like we got to get this figured out because this is not only is it bad, we're taking steps backwards.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. Of like, I thought it was weird that people were shocked that there were spikes as we reopen.
Yeah,
and it's like, again, it's these two mindsets of the COVID thing of like, it's people thinking it's a storm just going to blow over or a new, like an ice age we're going to have to live through of like, it's just there, you know? And people in that storm, I think the masks and the lockdown and the 2 weeks to slow, you know, remember 2 weeks to stop the spread, or, you know, 10 weeks later. I think they're thinking of it like this is going to blow over. Like let it go away, and then we can open up. And then, but that's not that's not what it is. And then we are opening up. It's these spikes. Not to mention, you got 100,000 people doing the Macarena in the streets right now. You know, and it's like, wow, spikes. That's amazing. It's incredible.
That's what's crazy about it is that when that started happening, it was like, well, how do I virtue signal harder? Which direction? Do I go masks or do I go protest? Like. They didn't know where to go.
Protesting. Well, it's perfect to wear a mask while you're protesting. Yeah, you want to cover your face while you're smashing a bank window. You know, like, oh yeah, I care about this. You know, throwing Molotov cocktails. I don't want people to see me.
Yeah, dude, I'm perfect. I'm losing it. Like the upside downness of everything right now. Like growing up, like watching art and following artists and seeing like street artists get arrested for doing graffiti. It's like you can't vandalize public property. But you can pull down tax-funded statues of whatever you want as long as you're the right color to do it.
I think people are just so worried of like, well, I don't want to stop anybody from doing anything because then I'm going to go viral. You know, I'm going to tap some dude. He's going to fall and crack his head open. And then
that was not a tap.
I know, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, my job is to move these people back. I push them back and they freaking fall and crack their head open. It's like, well, I didn't mean to do that, but now it happened, and now I'm viral, and now it's gone.
It's like Happy Gilmore. It shouldn't have been standing there.
Well, it's just like, okay, I'm out. You know, you got all these cops resigning. You know,
it's crazy.
And so, statues are going to come down. Police stations are going to get burned. Like, stuff's going to happen because no one's stopping anything because they don't want to. They don't want to be the next cop that goes viral and ruins his life.
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't know, man. I had a thought while I was at the post office because I had to go there. And it was a moment where I had an epiphany where this girl came in. She couldn't have been older than like 21. Had to be at least that. She was dressed like somebody who has the common sense of somebody who's 21 right now. And like she had two little buns, like she's 5 years old, but clearly she's an adult who, you know, can vote, which is terrifying. And she was carrying a Black Lives Matter sign, like the kind that you would post in your lawn for a campaign.
In the post office?
Yeah, I guess she intended to mail it to somebody.
Copies. Oh.
Yeah, like you know, you run the central fundraiser for some campaign, you mail out flyers and stuff to get the word out. It was like that kind of thing is what it looked like.
Yeah.
So she walked up, looked in the door and saw the line of people in the post office because they're only letting 4 people in the main room at a time. So there's just a line of people just corona'd up all in that little hallway. And she looks in, turns around, and just walks out. And she walks to the car of whoever drove her, and you can hear it through the glass. She's like, no, forget it. There's like 40 people in line. And I was like, okay, so this cause that you believe in, and I'm sure you've had arguments about, you believe in it like with all your heart, but not enough to wait in line for 20 minutes. And then the second epiphany that hit
20
me was
people, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't believe in it. 40 people line.
Yeah, then all lives matter.
Except for these 40 people in front of me.
But my time matters a little more. But what struck me in that moment was that her and people in that mentality are the ones that are winning society. And I was like, how if they're not willing to wait in line for 40 minutes? And then I was like, well, we must be willing to do even less if we're losing society to people like that. Like, that's the only sense I could make of that situation.
What do you mean losing society?
Like the fact that it's burning down around us. Like she's not willing to stand in line for 40 minutes. How much, like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not the kind of commitment that should be able to flip over a nation. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Post-mill.
That's what I'm saying. That's like,
yeah, what do you talk about losing society, Julian?
Yeah, like America's falling apart because I think we're
triggered.
Yeah. You do kind of look like that girl. It's like if somebody kicked in your door to rob you and they don't have a gun or anything, and then you're like, well, they kicked in the door, what am I supposed to do? Like, well, they didn't have any weapons, why don't you stop them?
I don't understand. Are you just upset that she didn't have enough commitment to Black Lives Matter?
I'm upset about all people breathing.
One,
yes. Not stand in line for cause.
One, yes. I'm upset that she didn't have enough commitment to wait in line for this cause, because that makes me so mad to be halfway into an idea. But the second part is that if she has that little commitment and her side is winning, we must have even less commitment. That's the only conclusion I could come to.
I don't think they're winning anything, dude. I think they're showing themselves. I think what was happening is this mindset, this leftist, communist, insane, everything is bad, is showing itself. The blinders being pulled off. Like, I think now more than ever, people know Black Lives Matter doesn't mean Black Lives Matter.
No,
right? People, I think that's being hyper focused. I think that's coming into focus.
Well, after that interview came out where they said, like, yeah, we're trained Marxists.
Trained Marxists. And if you go, like, did you listen to the briefing with Albert Mohler? Like, where he went in depth of like the Black Lives Matter organization. He's talking about, he's saying Black Lives Matter as a sentence, as 3 words, is obviously true.
Right.
Sure, everyone can get on board with that. Black Lives Matter as an organization we cannot support that, of the Marxist, leftist, worldly, godless worldview that it promotes. Like, Christians can't we can't be up to the organization. But how perfect is it to name it Black Lives Matter? Because who's going to disagree with that? You know what I mean? It's this catch-22 of like, well, I'm not. How can I say I don't support Black Lives Matter? Because of course I do.
Right.
As a sentence, as a sentiment, as a thought.
It's like calling yourself anti-fascist. Anyone who's against you must be a fascist, because I'm anti-fascist.
Yeah. And I remember someone saying there's...
I gotta go. My daughter just threw up everywhere.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Bye.
See ya. Yeah. I mean, yeah, someone said there's no far left. What are you talking about, far left? There's no such thing as far left. I'm like, what are you talking about? Antifa's the far left. Like, but someone really believes there was no far left. It's like, and not only is there no far left, there's no limiting principle to leftist ideas. There's no like this far and no more. Mm-hmm. No one ever says, well, this far into socialism, into liberalism, into these leftist Marxist ideas, but no one says that. You have open, trained Marxists leading these organizations and one of the biggest movements right now. And no one's batting an eye. Like, everyone saw that video. She says she's a Marxist. They know. There's no... It's a known thing, and so there's no limiting principle on any of these ideas. Abolish police. What does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean, you know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, whatever.
That's the problem. Nothing means anything anymore.
Words don't mean anything anymore.
Nothing.
Defund doesn't mean defund. You know, and it's like, okay, then what are we talking about? Like, I can't say the T-shirt says defund the police. It doesn't say massive police reform and training.
The crazy part,
I can wear that shirt.
The crazy part is watching people try to explain or justify defunding the police, and they're like, well, no, we're not saying get rid of the police. We're saying we spend too much money on the police, so instead we should take that money and pour it into free healthcare for everybody and government schooling, and like that's a worse idea.
And I like how no cop or cop family will tell you they put too much money in the police.
Right.
Right. My salary is too high for this job.
Well, not only that, I mean, how much money have we already dumped into schools that turned out these people?
Yeah. I mean, Joe Rogan is talking about, we was with Jocko, they're talking about police and stuff. And I guess Andrew Yang said that all police should be purple belt jujitsu in jujitsu, which I think is perfect idea. Right. Purple belt's like 2 years of real training, right. Joe Rogan said. So it's like, that's totally doable for a police officer. Mm-hmm. Like, the SEAL teams, they train, like all they do is train before they go on, they're either training or on a mission, and the police should have more training like that. Like that Rayshard Brooks video, I saw that video and I keep thinking, if that guy knew jujitsu, Rayshard Brooks would be alive right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because he had his back. He had his back. He could have, rear naked choke, put his feet in and choke him out, and he would be alive right now. And people are like freaking out about chokeholds, which I totally don't understand because
they also don't know what a chokehold is.
Okay, what are the other options? Tase them, pepper spray them, or beat them in the head with a club.
The other option is don't do anything. Them. That's the thing.
But a jujitsu, it's all submission and grappling. That is the safest thing. It immediately eliminates the struggle. Incapacitates the person struggling with the minimum of harm. A chokehold, like a properly done jujitsu chokehold, is one of the safest way to subdue a violent person. I mean. It just is like it's so much safer than a blow to the head, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. So,
but that's the thing. Like
the chokeholds are banned.
There's no right solution because what they want is nothing. Like no police. It's not like no police.
That's what I was trying to like. That's kind of where I landed on. It's like Black Lives Matter. This is with my job, but Black Lives Matter is not. They're not trying to save America from the evil of racism. They're trying to destroy America and rebuild something different.
Yes, exactly.
They don't want to say, like, it's not about, let's save America. America is good. It's just been misguided, or there's some evil in America. It's root and branch needs to be torn down and turned into something different.
Right.
And that's they're destroying Abraham Lincoln statues and Grant statues and George Washington. Like, I don't want to, like, what? This is insane. Like, this has nothing to do with, like, the evils of racism that America has. It's America is evil and needs to be torn down and built up into something new, which is the Marxist playbook. Marxism is not about, oh, let's reform and do it. It's destroy, tear down, and build up something new. But the ultimate goal of Marxism is to change what humans are. They believe that humans are a certain way because, well, again, I don't understand a lot of this. It's like, we're corrupt by our environment.
Yes.
So people are born good. That's the idea, is that people are born innocent and good, but it's their evil society environment that changes them. But the society is made up of people who were born good and then changed by their evil society. So, well, you got to go back to the first person. Where's the first bad person to make a bad society, or the first good person to make a bad choice to create the bad society, to create to disrupt and corrupt the innocent new people? You know what I mean? We're all people. Like we're all born innocent. Why did we ever turn into a corrupt society that corrupts innocent young people?
That's where it gets into the idea of unconscious biases and systemic racism. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not
human beings with this unconscious bias.
Right.
Where's the innocent person?
But that's why it's such a insidious idea, because you can't do anything about it. Like, it's an unconscious thing. You can't help it. You just are that way. Like, admit your guilt because you can't fix it. There's nothing you can do about it. You just are this way. So it's the idea that, like, people are born good, but then turn around and say, but you are inherently bad because of X, Y, or Z, whatever thing we don't like at the moment.
Yeah, but it can't be that. It's always something outside corrupting me. Right, like, or corrupting the person, but it's the people. Society is built of people that are corrupting the new innocent person. But you got to start somewhere. Where does this corruption come from?
Well, I mean, you're looking for a consistent.
That's what I'm saying. So and so they believe that's what humanity has become or is, or it's like evolved to. So what we need to is we in order, like, humanity can be turned into something else. The only way that happens if we dismantle the current establishment and build up from the bottom something entirely new.
Right.
And that's what, like, Mark's idea of like useful idiots, right? Of like, well, these plebes can't do anything, but they're useful for dismantling the society.
Right.
But as soon as the society is dismantled, we're going to throw them out. Robespierre was one of the first people on the guillotine, right? The leader of the French Revolution. They're quick to chop those heads off.
Well,
no matter who.
They never see it coming, and it always happens. Like the J.K. Rowling thing is kind of fascinating to me.
They eat their own. Yeah.
Yes, because she was so hard left. Like this whole past 4 years, she's been so hard
left. Gay randomly.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No reason. Just
as hard as you can be. And then one day it's like, well, I don't agree with this point. And it's like, well, you're done. You're canceled. You're all in or you're not in at all. It's like, wow. Like
and the thing is, it will never be enough.
No, it won't.
That's the thing. So if she were to be like, you know what? I've thought about it and I'm sorry, or come out with the apology, the woke hostage video where you're just like, I'm sorry, reading off an apology. It'll never be enough. Your apology will not be enough because the left doesn't have an understanding of forgiveness or grace.
Right. There's no redemption.
It's all so-called justice, actually extreme forms of restitution verging on revenge.
Right.
It's revenge disguised as justice of, it's like, man, I wonder how many anti-death penalty people want Derek Chauvin to have the death penalty now. Right. Raise the degree, first degree, not good enough. Third degree, you know what? Kill him.
Right.
Like, yeah, I agree. Kill murderers. Like, but you know what I mean? So.
Well, I mean, somebody said that too, that like an apology to the left isn't an attempt to make peace. It's an admission of guilt. Like that's all it is. And then once you've admitted your guilt, then you have to be shunned.
You must pay, and your payment will never be enough.
Never enough.
You can never pay enough. We don't want a pound of flesh. We want all 200 pounds of you. Like that's it. We want everything. We want your job. We want you in jail. We want you, like, there's no penance. There's no like forgiveness or grace. It's just pay until you're nothing.
And I was talking about that with someone this week because, like, the idea they asked me, I don't understand how Black Lives Matter relates to Christianity. Like, why are they opposed ideas? And so I was trying to work through this idea that you can't capitulate a little bit because it never stops at a little bit. It's always more and more and more and more. Yeah. And like that biblical principle that a little leaven leavens the whole loaf. Like sin is not a thing that stays here. When you give a little bit, it starts to creep and creep and creep and creep and creep.
Being a little pregnant.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like you're a little pregnant for a couple of weeks, and then you're terminal.
Or you're not. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the what did my philosophy teacher called it? The argument of the beard. Like, at what point do you have a beard? Like you either have a beard or you don't. It's not like what point do you have a beard. But that when you capitulate a little bit, and that's kind of the brilliance of the left as far as naming their groups, like Black Lives Matter, anti-fascist. Like, yeah, of course, I am anti-fascist.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I am also against fascism. Cool. We've defined the terms of who is a fascist. Therefore, if you're with us, you have to be against these people. And then they continue to expand that definition.
Yeah.
So it's just, it never ends. Like if you give a little bit, you've already lost.
Yeah.
I finished watching Free Speech Apocalypse this week, and it was harrowing. It was alarming to watch.
That was awesome.
It's so weird seeing Doug Wilson, like somebody's grandpa. He just looks like the sweetest old man, just standing there being screamed at by college kids about things that they've never read or have no idea about.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And the whole week, I went to the post office, and it was craziness. Like,
tell me about these masks. Tell me about.
Oh man,
I know you've been all butthurt about masks.
Well, it's not just the masks. It's the idea of like, because I got into talking about masks too, and I was like, but it's not, the mask isn't a thing anymore, because typically what we used to think about masks, it was something that you used to protect yourself, right? Like if you were in an area where there was going to be something you didn't want to breathe in, you put on a mask. But now the mask is a symbol for what side you're on.
Yeah. Well, I think there are some convenient studies that say it helps. Because you can always fall back on, well, it does help with the spread.
Right, but man,
It's never just an AIDS ribbon where it's like, look at me, I care about AIDS. Like it's does nothing.
right.
But the mask actually could do something.
I mean, theoretically, if you're just looking at masks prevent this, it's like, okay, masks may help. But then the reality is that if you're not wearing the one that has the built-in filter, the N95, it doesn't actually do anything. And no one's wearing that. I got a piece of cloth. It's cotton that I bought at Joann for $2. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's not medical grade.
But you're allowed in the store with it on.
Right, exactly.
And that's like, if I go like this, I can go into the store. But if I go like this, I can't go in the store.
Yeah, exactly. It's
if I go like this, I'm no longer a danger to society.
Right.
And I think that's like creating a false sense of security in a lot of people, because they think like, well, I'm wearing a mask, I can go hug somebody or spend all day with my friend or whatever. As long as we got the mask on, hang on, no, I'm safe. Hang on.
It's a placebo.
Yeah, and when it's like, well, sure, but it doesn't mean you can go hug everyone, or like,
I'm saying
spend all day face to face with someone.
I'm saying hug everyone, kiss everyone, do whatever you want. I'm on that side. But like the way that I've seen it break down in like actual practice is crazy, because when I was at the post office, there was an old man in front of me. This dude was like 80. He was just old. And they had a rule in that little room. There could only be 4 people for any amount of time. It doesn't matter if you just needed to go in and get a box and then come out and pack your stuff. You couldn't walk in. 4 people. That's it. And then if one guy in there is taking forever, you still got to wait. It doesn't matter. If he's packing all the stuff, oh, well, you got to wait for him to be done. So everybody's filing in. Everybody's playing along. And the old guy walks into the room because he doesn't see 4 people in there. He only sees 3 people. The other guy's like in the corner. He doesn't see him. So the old guy walks in, and one of the counter clerks is like, sir, there is only 4 people allowed. You need to leave, sir. You need to walk outside and wait your turn. So the old man walks out the door after getting yelled at by this counter clerk. And then like literally as he's walking out the door, someone walks out behind him and they're like, oh, okay, sir, now you can come inside. And it was like so crazy to me.
Now it's safe.
Yeah, now it's safe. Exactly. So we had to yell at this 80-year-old man, like as if he's a human dirty bomb, because of all these crazy rules that don't do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
It's this false sense of security, and it's like a symbol. It's like, are you a mask wearer? Do you believe the masks? Are you a science denier?
Mask wearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks. Yeah, it's like, I'll wear a mask at the store, and then, everybody has a mask. All right, cool. And then I'll see somebody without a mask, and then I'm like, am I the chump who's like wearing a mask?
Well, when I ran into
don't say anything to him.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then he's looked at as like the bad guy. But I feel like, well, if no one's gonna tell him anything,
then
why are we doing it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I'm not saying I want to wear a mask. I'm not calling him a bad guy. I'm just saying, like, if no one's gonna say anything to you, like, my thing with the mask is like, if you're gonna make it a rule, make it a rule. Have someone stand at the door and be like, put a mask on. I'll put a mask on. Like, if that's a rule for me to go shopping or to go to the bookstore or whatever, I'll do it because I want to go to the bookstore. Like, I'll wear the mask. But if you're gonna not make it a rule, then, or if you're gonna like give people the option to not wear a mask, I'll take the option. You know what I mean? And but then you can't get mad if I take the option.
But
you know what I mean? Right? That's the thing. Make it a rule. Make it a rule of like, okay, we will not let you in without a mask. Great, I'll put my mask on. But if you can't just be like, well, you can if you want to, but you better. It's like,
it is, though. That's the thing.
Oh, like, don't just tell me to do it. Just make it a rule.
But it's not enough. They can't tell you to do it. You have to willingly do it.
You have to want to do it.
You have to love Big Brother. It's not enough to just say that you were wrong.
We don't want your compliance. We want your love.
Exactly.
That's your heart.
That's what makes me mad about the mask.
We don't want your mouth. We want your heart.
We want your heart. You have to have the mask. You can't just have the mask on your face. You have to have it on your forehead and your right hand also.
You're gonna wear it and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's so crazy. And that's how I was talking about that and how it's like a symbol now. It's like, are you a mask wearer? Like I was talking about the idea of splitting a congregation. Like, well, this section is for people who wear masks. And this section, we don't like.
That's a bad idea. That does put it in a light of like, we were talking about that with like Zoom people in our community groups and stuff, and it's like, we can meet in person, but if someone still wants to be on Zoom, whatever, and it's like, well, nobody wants to be the person who's like afraid, it's like, oh, I'm the Zoom guy, or I'm the mask guy, or whatever, you know what I mean? Oh, Masky over here.
And that's, the Zoom thing is even less because
we got a Masky over here. Look at him. Throw tomatoes at him.
With Zoom, I don't know why you're not here. Maybe you got busy. Maybe something happened. Maybe you couldn't come in today. But if you're wearing a mask as opposed to not wearing a mask, it's clear. Like, oh, you're one of them.
Because it does nothing.
Yeah,
it's Zoom. At least you're at home.
Yeah, right. But
even though that's where most transmissions happen, or at home.
Right. I mean, that was the problem with the idea of lock everybody down in their house, the place where you're most likely to catch it.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is like if you're outside, I've said this before, if you're in your car alone in 100 degrees in San Antonio, driving around with a mask on, or if you're out walking your dog at 5 p.m. in the heat of the day and with a mask on, you have no idea what's going on with this coronavirus.
I saw people riding bikes with a mask on.
You're a sheep.
Yeah.
You have no clue. You just see your mask. I'm wearing a mask.
But
I'm gonna wear it because I wear it, and I'm told to, and I'm a good person because look how good I am. I'm wearing a mask.
That's
I'm walking my dog.
That's one side of it is like I don't want to cause a fuss, right? I'm just gonna wear the mask. I don't want to cause a problem.
Well, and that's how I am. Like with that at the store, right? Like if I go to the store and someone's like, "Hey, can you wear a mask?" I'm like, "Sure," or I'll just have it on. But I don't want to cause a scene. I'm never going to be the guy that's like, Marats, turning over tables at Lowe's or something.
Oh, I cause a scene all the time.
Just like, Marats, I don't wear a mask. Like, whatever. I don't want to cause a scene. If you want me to wear it, I'll wear it. But if you're going to allow me to not wear it, I'm going to not wear it. Like, that's just, I don't know. Don't give people an option, then get angry with people when they take the option.
Because you should just know. You should be good enough to care about other people that you wear your mask.
That's the group think. I'm not willing to like.
But that's what it is, though. That's what it is. You're not allowed to think. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to have opinions on things that the science is settled on, Solomon. That's not allowed.
The science has already been settling on it. They're like,
according to the news, they are. That's what I saw.
Well, until that lady comes out and like casually says, "Oh, asymptomatic transmission is very rare." Like,
but nobody talks about that.
That's everything. You got a fever, you're gonna stay home. You're coughing your lungs out, you're gonna stay home. You got symptoms, you're gonna stay home. But if you feel okay, you're gonna go do things. And the whole mask and the plexiglass and the 6 feet is for you could be sick and not know it.
Right.
Well, and then be spreading it to everybody. And if the World Health Organization says that's very rare, well, what are you talking about? That's everything. That's the whole thing. If you have a fever, you're going to stay home. That's common sense. Asymptomatic was the big danger.
But
it's very rare. What are you talking about?
It was too late. That was the problem. It had already been drilled into everybody's head so long for so hard that when they came out and said, actually, we were wrong about a lot of stuff. It was too late.
They didn't even say that. They just backpedaled it of like, oh, and they fired that one lady. And like they backpedaled it. But the backpedal was like, well, we don't actually know. That was only 2 or 3 real studies that were done. But,
that's actually worse. We don't know. That's worse that you don't know.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's not a backpedal. That's not. It's a terrible. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of stuff came out about like the same where they were saying like, well, actually picking it up from surfaces is also very rare. So the fact that you're wiping everything down.
Surfaces. I haven't touched a bottle of hand sanitizer in like 5 weeks.
Oh man, when I was still at the counter when I was working, my fingernails were like coming apart from all the hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I'm done with the hand sanitizer. I mean, just touch surfaces. It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay 2 seconds on a surface. So don't. Yeah, just.
But that's
wash your hands. Whatever.
That's what really drives me crazy. Is that all of this stuff has come out like, okay, we were wrong about the surfaces. We were wrong about asymptomatic carriers. We were wrong about a lot of this stuff. But everybody still has to wear the mask.
Well, yeah, we have to crash the economy. Like, see, that's the problem. Is like there was so much we didn't know, and it's okay to not know something, but it's not okay to take these drastic measures on I don't know. Like if because we saw Italy, we saw Spain, and we freaked out.
Right.
Like, and the first models were like 1 million people dead. We're like, holy crap. Yeah, we'll stay home. Yeah. Like you say, if I stay home 2 weeks, 1 million people will live. Okay, I'll stay home. And it's like we can crash the economy on we're sure that 1 million people will die. We can't crash the economy on we don't know. And that's turning out how it was. That's turning out to be the case of like, well, we didn't really know. Those models were wrong, or we don't.
That's the
like,
man.
Well, we already crashed the economy now. We can't go back. Now.
Doug Wilson talked about, well, yeah, sure we can. We'll spend our way out of it. Government stimulus.
But we can't undo it. Like,
we'll just print more, Solomon. It doesn't matter. We'll make more money.
Modern monetary theory. Oh man.
Wilson was talking about the models, how we put so much faith in models, but we forget that models have to be programmed, and somebody who's programming them has already a particular belief about what they think should say.
Yeah.
So
there's just so much uncertainty, and then we look at we built the models off of circumstances like Italy and stuff that don't really match ours. You know,
right?
You got 6 people living per house in Italy. You know, and everyone smokes.
Yeah,
and eat bread and pasta all day. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, okay, that's different than like us.
Pasta and all that.
They're just eating pasta over there. And
so dense with marinara.
Gelato, and their body's a solid pizza. And
you cut them open, it's just starch.
And they all smoke, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's China too. Everybody in China smokes. They smoke like they breathe. Like, that's how it is.
Well, then you find out 80% of the deaths in the United States were nursing homes.
Right.
So, yeah, no kidding. And then talk about like, you know, and then like people like you and I have like a 2% chance of dying of this.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, how many people are in general good health who don't have a pre-existing condition? Or how many people are old and this is more dangerous for old people? Significantly more dangerous for old people. You know what else is significantly more dangerous for old people? A flight of stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? What are we talking about here? Like driving. Like there's a lot of things that are significantly more dangerous for old people, like pneumonia and the flu and a flight of stairs. So like, what do we? You know, I think we can be a little bit more nuanced in how we're locking down instead of like we're treating. And that's the thing. We're treating everybody. We're treating the entire country as if we're all obese 80-year-olds, and we're not. Like that's that. You know.
But nuance is dead. You're not allowed to have opinions. You're not allowed to have feelings. You're not allowed to reanalyze anything. Like, no, this is what we said. This is how we were going forward. That's it. You can get on board or you're one of them.
Yeah, it's just binary.
That's with everything. That's with this. That's with Black Lives Matter. That's like nobody in America thought that cop was right in killing George Floyd. Everybody thought that was wrong.
Yeah, I haven't seen one person coming out like, well, I don't know.
Right.
Not, you know.
There's no undecided parties on this.
Yeah.
But that's still not enough.
And I was thinking about this today too. We don't know if Derek Chauvin is a racist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we know he murdered a guy.
Right.
And was injustice was done, but we don't know if Derek Chauvin had hatred in his heart for black people.
Right.
Or if he thought, you know, or whatever. It was just but that's it. That's the whole race riots debate on this. We don't even know what, you know what I mean? Like,
do you remember?
But you don't say Derek Chauvin's a racist. You say all cops are bad.
Right.
All cops are racist across the board. And like I said before, that's such low level thinking as all black people are gang members.
Would you
Same level of stupid thinking.
When the George Zimmerman one, like forever ago, when he shot Trayvon Martin,
that Mexican guy that shot
the white Mexican.
Dude, have you seen him?
Yeah, he's browner than me. That's what was crazy. Like the whole thing was that it was a white on black crime.
I know. I saw it and I see him and I'm like, that's him?
Yeah, that's when they made up the term white Mexican because it didn't fit the narrative. It was like we failed. We got to make a new term. And like when that came out, I was like, well, clearly this guy was wrong because he was some like gung ho neighborhood watch guy who thought he was
trying to shoot everybody.
Yeah, exactly. He thought he was John McClane out here. It was death wish for him. He was out here being what's his name? Richard Bronson, not Richard Bronson.
Charles Bronson.
I got my Bronsons mixed up. He's out here being Charles Bronson, and yeah, he was wrong. And obviously, he killed somebody that he shouldn't have. He should have gone to jail for it. But it turned into a racial thing.
Yeah.
And you had to be on this side or you were wrong.
It's like you expect to see these sort of race riots if Derek Chauvin got off completely free.
Right.
Like, right. Like, because that was the Rodney King stuff. The riots and stuff didn't, the LA riots stuff didn't start until those people were acquitted. Those white guys that beat him up were like totally got off the charges or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, okay, look, this is an injustice. This justice has not been done in this situation, whatever. 100% justice has been done in this George Floyd case. But it's not about that case. It's not about that. It's about all cops, all systemic racism. America is completely evil and needs to be completely destroyed and rebuilt. That's the whole Black Lives Matter
It was an opportune moment. It was like, this is the time.
Yeah, it's like the Scopes monkey trial was just used to pit evolution against creationism in school. Like they didn't even care about the Scopes, like who that person was. They literally were saying, we're going to use this case as a chance to duke it out. We don't care about you. Same with Roe v. Wade. Like, we don't care about you.
Right.
This isn't about you. This is about abortion. You know, it's bigger than you. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, that's why it drives me crazy. Like everything going on right now, because it is like, these are agendas. These are all situations that are being used to push agendas and ideas. And like, you know, me and you neither subscribe to the idea of like, oh, this is all controlled and there's a cabal that's making this all happen. It's like, no, there was a useful moment that somebody was like, hey, this is the rock is up.
Oh,
this was a useful moment where I can push my ideology at this moment because it fits the narrative that I need.
Yeah.
And what drives me crazy is that we, like with the mask thing, it's an argument of truth. Like if it is true, like you said, if it was true that 1 million people were going to die, then yes, we should all stay home for 2 weeks and wear masks so that 1 million people don't die. But it turns out that's not true.
Yeah.
And we're still doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, do we just not care anymore? Does it not matter? Are we all?
I think the fact that it's an election year and it's huge. You know, like the only thing that was going for Trump was the economy.
Yes.
Was the market and the jobs and record employment, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, that's not good. Well, let's just tell people not to work. And then, I don't really believe conspiracies or whatever. But so when it comes to this kind of stuff, there's a difference between conspiracy and strategy.
Right.
Like the conspiracy is like, okay, hang on. That's a lot of stuff. But strategy, sure. Like, don't let a good crisis go to waste. That whole saying, right? Yep. And so you get this real threat of corona, and it's like, what a perfect opportunity. Right. Hey, you can't work, you'll kill grandma.
Let's tank
you know,
perfect.
Yeah, it's like, what? You want to work? What? You want to kill grandma? Nope. And then boom, unemployment, bam, massive recession, and just ruin the only thing that was going good for Trump, which wasn't really even his doing, I don't think. But he could stand on it to like, hey, look, employment's so great, whatever, the stock market's so great. But now he can't. But it's so weird that this situation of like, Trump, look at all this unemployment under Trump. It's like, but Trump wants to open up and go back to work.
Right.
You know, but it's like, look at all this unemployment. We just mandated everybody not to work, and terrible mass unemployment. Trump, how could you do this? It's like that gun with that guy with the gun that shoots that guy's like, how could Trump do this? You know, it's the perfect thing. So and I'm no Trump fan. I'm definitely not a Trump fan. I freaking hate the guy. I mean, I think he's a complete idiot, dumb. Yeah.
The part of me that's evil.
Garbage heap of a human being.
The part of me that's evil loves the idea that he just says things and like doesn't care and has no decorum. I'm like, oh, it's like Feeder. It's so good. Like, oh,
I feel the way about Trump the way I would feel about some no-name WWE wrestler. Like,
elaborate on that.
Like, okay, so you know wrestling. Who in wrestling is just kind of like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, he's never a big deal.
Geez, anyone? John Morrison. John Morrison was never anyone.
Yeah, if you were to come out and tell me like, hey, are you a John Morrison supporter? Like, what? Who? Oh, he's this professional wrestler that whatever. Or you know what's good? That Gold Dust. I know him because that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. This guy paints himself in gold.
Yes,
looks like a gold Darth Maul.
It was supposed to be an Oscar. That was the original idea.
Like an Academy Award?
Yeah, because he was obsessed with movies. That was his gimmick. He would quote movies all the time. He was an Oscar.
Why do you look like Darth Maul?
That was later when they were like, okay, this idea is not working. But we can't ditch the gold. We're committed. We bought the name.
It's permanent on.
It's a tent pole. We can't.
That's how I see Donald Trump. Is this like sprayed gold, Darth Maul painted fat professional wrestler is going to be your president? I'm like, what? And he set up all the bull crap. And it's like, I don't even know how to what to say to that. Like, of course not. Of course I hate this guy. That's so dumb. Like that's my.
But that's what's crazy is that I forget who said it. It might have been somebody who I'm not going to mention because I don't want to get labeled a bad thing. But say that I listen to them. But he talked about how the left was going so far this way that the right ran to the most ridiculous thing they could find.
Yeah, he's a giant middle finger to the left.
Yeah, exactly. And
but flipping people off is not
right. But
nice,
that's,
you know what I mean?
That's the worldview that you get when you don't have a Christian worldview. It's just like, well, how do you like this? And then in 4 years, we're going to get the opposite. It's going to be, how do you like that one? And
it's just this radical swings.
Right. It's
the right. It's there's no middle ground because that you don't have to think when you do that.
Yes, exactly.
Think. Just I'm going to flip somebody off and I don't have
all
to
the
think.
way down the line.
Yeah,
all the way down.
But if it's like, well, this guy he kind of believes on this, and then you kind of have to do some studying or research or follow some candidate or some person and be like, well, I kind of like this, but I don't like that, and I agree with what he says here, and I think those things are more important, so I'm gonna go for that guy.
But that's work. You have to read.
Yeah, it's a nuance that's like, well, I might have to actually check into some things, and it's just easier. Just this guy's screaming about dirty Hillary, or like,
I like that.
Yeah, lock her up. I just want to chant. Anybody who's chanting is not thinking, and that's what it is. Left and right, whatever. If someone's chanting, if I could fit it on a bumper sticker, that's as much thinking I want to give it.
Right,
bumper sticker philosophy.
That's everything right now. Like it's this binary. You are this or you are this, and you're not allowed to consider. You're not allowed to have nuance. You are this or this. You're all in or you're one of them. Like
it's the boxes. It's the whole boxes I talk about. Like I'm in the black box. So you're in the cop box. You're in the white box.
We're in a world where Joe Rogan and Tim Pool are considered radical conservatives. Like what?
I know.
How is that a thing?
It's so crazy. Tim Pool stuff is he's crazy. He'll like say anything.
Oh, he's an alarmist too. He's always talking about a civil war coming.
Oh, dude, he's already living in the van. He's already in that.
He is. Oh man,
souped
he's
up
like
van.
What's his name? Gene Hackman in Enemy of the State. He's got like the Faraday cage, so nobody knows where he is.
The conversation.
Yeah.
Got the headphones on, like listening.
It's crazy. So the conversation I had with some other friends of mine, especially as like dads, because like we got kids coming up behind us, and I'm more concerned about like what is this place going to look like in 20 years when he's an adult and he's like trying to make a business or trying to start a family and he's got all this red tape or restrictions or whatever to work through. And my group of other dad friends that I was talking to, I'm like, at what point is it okay to say no? Like at what point is it just like this is crazy? And
I saw that. At what point are you willing to say no?
Right.
Yeah, I saw that. What did I say? When it cost me money?
When it cost me money, yeah. What if it's the opposite of that? What if it doesn't cost you money, but it is like, well, you can't come into this store because you're not wearing, like right now it's a mask. But let's say it's like, well, there was a bigger bump up, so now you have to wear the mask and the face shield.
Well, so that was kind of thing I was thinking at the beginning. It's like, well, you're gonna buy me a mask?
Right.
Because that's when I thought like, oh, it's gonna cost me money. I didn't have a mask, but then my grandmother made me like 3 masks.
So you're like, all right, I'm fine.
Yeah, like dang, like a Superman and like Texas Rangers, and I was like,
grandma's looking to help.
I know, man, it's clutch. But that was one of the things. It's like, well, I'm not gonna buy one. You're gonna buy me one. You're gonna tell me I have to buy this. That's kind of where I was kind of weird of like, you're telling me I can't come in unless I buy this thing,
right?
And it's like, oh, we got them for sale.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how convenient, really, And that was kind of, I think that's where I get into the no category of like, okay, well, you have to buy this kind of car, or will you have to pay for this kind of whatever? And it's like, I mean, I can there's other options over here cheaper, but I have to buy this one. I was saying no, and I'm gonna not do that. But then it's like, what are the consequences of saying no? I mean, you can always say no. It's just a matter of like saying no in the face of what? Jail time or something. Well, then my no standard is way low. Saying like, if I say no, you're gonna throw me in jail if I don't wear a mask. Okay, I'll wear a freaking mask.
But that's the thing too, though. That's like one person, right? If one person says no and it's like we're gonna throw you in jail, What if 10 people say no? What if 50 people say no? What if 200 people say no?
More people than that are saying no already.
They can't arrest all of us. It's they can't take all of us. You know that, like,
Storm Area 51.
Yeah. But you don't know what they got at Area 51. They could have taken all of you.
Stop all. That was like literally what it was called.
One death beam. But like, think about that. If HEB was like, okay, nobody can come in unless you have a mask, and like the majority of their clientele was like, okay, then we're just not going to come in. Like, how quickly would they be like, okay, wait, we spoke too soon?
Oh yeah, they definitely would. Right? But yeah, because if they're like, okay, no one ever shops here. That's what I was wondering. Like, if this was a permanent thing, of like most companies have the woke virtue signal to wear a mask and make it mandatory for their business, I'm going to open up a grocery store that's not mandatory.
Right.
You know I mean? A lot of customers, but that's like if it was permanent, kind of thing. If it was a permanent virtue signal thing where it was like, well, this is what every polite person does.
In the Florida Keys, they're saying you got to wear a mask till next summer.
I saw that. Florida, I thought Florida was like no cases.
Apparently the Keys are different. I don't know what the Florida Keys are doing, but they're
that was weird. I saw that and I was like, Florida? I thought they were like totally like opened up and totally fine.
Yeah. And the thing that kills me too is there's always someone who's got to be the tattletale on Twitter or something who has to like. Somebody was at SeaWorld in Orlando today, and they were tweeting like, SeaWorld is ridiculous. They're not even checking people's temperatures. They just got to ruin it for everybody and bring the Twitter mob after SeaWorld.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where it gets into like, you don't have to go to SeaWorld, right? Like, if you're that concerned about it.
But you all have to be careful so I can live my life.
Yeah.
You guys have to stay home because I got stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Hang on. All right.
Go ahead. This week has just been, I was at my limit. I could not take it anymore. Our governor, not our governor, our mayor and our judge, and just everything I saw while I was going out there was just, I was at my limit with how not inconsistent, but asinine all of this stuff is, and how many lines were drawn. The way with the mask, it's become like, oh, you're not wearing a mask, you're an other, and like how everybody is an other now. Everybody is a potential infection. Like, we can't get near each other. Social distance because everybody's dangerous. Don't walk in this room because everybody's dangerous. Like, there's no community anymore. That idea is dead. And then I'll jump back on here before I keep ranting. So I was ranting about how the thing that I hate the most about the mask is the dehumanization factor.
What?
Like, we don't look at people as other people anymore. We look at them as potential infections. That's why we got to stay 6 feet apart. That's why you all got to wear your masks. Don't get near me. I don't want to touch the table. If you touch the table, we got to wipe it off first.
I already look at people as.
Oh, that's because.
Like, get away from me. Don't.
That's because you're feeble. You need to be more robust, and you'll be all right.
I'm good with this. Like 6 feet. Don't touch. Don't.
No, I hate it.
Don't handshake. Because I'm always like awkward when I see someone. It's like, do I shake their hand? Are they gonna try to hug me?
No, I'm going for the hug every time.
Ugh, I hate huggers.
All the time. No, it's the big.
Like, don't. I was talking with Lauren about this, like about this familiarity that people have all of a sudden.
Yeah. How is that bad?
I'm not for it because I think it's okay to have like. Well, we were talking about it in more of the sense of like privacy, like keeping something private. Because like now, like a lot of people are way too comfortable with sharing their entire life with you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or sharing like, oh, well, my divorce and, oh, whenever I was abused, when it's like, I just met you, bro. Like, you don't have to tell me stuff, like now, why do you tell me stuff like that?
That's a social media consequence.
Or even like having cancer or something. Like someone had cancer, that wasn't like, you mention it to every single person you meet. Like that's how a lot of people with cancer are now. Is like they'll tell you their whole story and chemo and things, and it's just like, oh man, there was a time when it was like that was personal. You don't have to tell everybody about your medical problems or even like going to the bathroom, like whatever, like all kind of you know what I mean? Like, oh, I had explosive diarrhea. It's like, bro, what? That's not. People don't talk that way.
Yeah.
Now it's like, take all of me and like, hug me, and I'm gonna tell my entire life story, all the pain and everything. It's just like
that's gonna get
okay to be a little bit more private about things. And a handshake is just,
Oh yeah, a hug. a handshake amongst acquaintances, but
so I told my son, a handshake is as good as a hug.
No, that's
right?
that's if I've known you for like a year and you give me a handshake, I'm offended. Like, how dare you? How dare you give me your hand?
I don't even hug my stepdad.
Well, there might be other emotional issues there that's irrelevant to the discussion.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the heck out. I don't know if he watches. Albert, I appreciate that because I hate do we hug? Like my father-in-law, I shake their hand. My father-in-law, I shake their hand. And I know they're hugging everybody and I see other dudes hugging and I'm just like, and I go for the handshake and it's like, I'm totally fine with the handshake. And even that is like,
no, I do the slap the hand. Like if you give me the hand, I'm going to slap it out of the way and pull you in for the hug.
I like the nod. I like the.
Oh, that's the worst. Like the subtle acknowledgement.
I'll just walk right up to you.
No, that's terrible.
Don't even say anything.
You got to open up. You got to open up emotionally. You're too closed.
We need to close. We need a closed society. That's the safe society.
No, that's the word.
We're safe.
You know what this is? It's like this is Brave New World. You're doped up inside of the compound, and I'm the savage outside who's living in the real world.
I'm bringing that.
Yeah, that's. No, man, I hate it. I hate the way people treat each other now. I hate that nobody helps anybody anymore. Like, you'll see old people. I never forget this. When I was at work, this old lady, God help her, she was trying to email something from her phone to the main computer so we could print it for her. And she obviously could not do it. Like, audibly frustrated, trying to figure out how to do it. And we were not allowed to help her because you can't touch her stuff. You can't get that close to her. It's like you can kind of shout directions to her maybe, but she doesn't know what I'm talking about.
She's like, huh? Gets
yeah,
closer.
That's what it's like. So I'm watching her struggle for like half an hour trying to figure this thing out. Like, what has happened that we can't help an old woman?
Do you like it when you're standing in line and someone's like right up beside you?
But you know, that's the thing. That's the thing. We've gone from that to now you have to be 6 feet apart.
I'm fine with 6 feet apart. No. Why do you need to be less than 6 feet apart with anybody you're not sleeping with?
Because when I did you grow up Amish? One person on the butter churner at a time. Like when I go to Half Price Books, the little hutches, only one person in the book area at a time. So you're telling me
yes.
No.
That's a permanent.
No, feature. I gotta wait 20 minutes for this guy to figure out he's in the wrong section before I can walk in there.
I do it anyway.
Oh, that's horrible.
I go to Half Price Books and I see those tiny little cubbies of books. If someone's in there, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not looking at comics today.
No, for sure I'm walking in. I'm like, you know what? There's room for two in here.
Well, I'll like look kind of from a distance, kind of like, kind of make my presence known from like further back, and then until they're like.
See,
and then they
that's
move.
The thing. Like, no, that's the thing I hate. Like, just say something. Come inside. Don't stand there off like, well, I'm going to let it be known that I'm here and I don't appreciate this.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. My mom's last question. Do you talk to people in the elevator?
I don't talk to people in the elevator because we're all going somewhere. But like, I'm not a small talk person so much, but it's gone past that. Like, it's not even like, oh, don't.
I think anybody talks to strangers in an elevator should be arrested. Just shut up and look at the numbers until we get to the floor.
Who hurt you? Why are you this way?
Well, I feel like people like it's like this awkward thing where people like, well, I feel like I have to say something. It's like you don't. You don't have to. You
really don't.
You don't have to say anything.
In all honesty, most of the time,
usually when people say something, it's stupid.
And most of the time when I'm out in public, I have headphones on for exactly that reason. I don't want to talk to anybody.
These are implanted in.
I don't want to talk to anyone that I don't want to talk to, right? But it's past that. We can't even be in the same room. Like, no, it's too dangerous. And the numbers are what throw me off. Like, we can have 4 people, but 5, that's
6 feet,
you're pushing it.
5 feet.
Yeah, now you've lost it.
Corona can't jump 6 feet.
6 feet. It's got that limit.
We've tested it.
It's only front to back too. It's not sideways. If we have 2 lines, you can be 3 feet, but if front to back, you got to be 6 feet. At the post office, they literally had 2 lines going opposite ways, so that the last 2 people were like back to back in each line. So it's like, well, we just
to the hair.
It's got to be face to face. It's the only way
That's how corona is transmitted. You have to be talking like this close with someone for corona is transmitted.
Did you see
might do with someone you live with?
Did you see the thing with corona that loud talking helps spread the coronavirus?
It does.
That's absurd. You know what I feel like?
You're projecting. That's why those singers in that fire got sick.
Get out of here. I feel like when I hear people talk about this stuff, I feel like they're the old-timey plague doctor with the bird beak on. That like, well,
I want to be from you.
I stuff it with olives so I don't smell the virus and I won't get it. Like that's what I feel like when people are now. I gotta wave the stick so the spirits don't give me the virus.
That's me. I want one of those big things.
The little goggles on the side.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I hate it. Everybody makes me angry. Everything infuriates me right now. Like I cannot deal with it.
Why is the mask or like impeding on your rights, like my rights?
Because one, we know. Okay,
here's the problem. You have to not wear a mask. Like
the right is an American, Solomon, that no one can tell me you have to wear a mask for no reason.
It's not written down. Like what is that? Like it's not for no reason. They're giving you a reason.
No, but it's a reason that's false. We've established that it's not a mask that does anything. That's the problem. If it doesn't work, then why are we still wearing it?
But that's the problem with it. Like, it doesn't work. You know, I can find 10 studies say it doesn't work. I can find 10 studies say it does work. It's like, well, then I don't know what to freaking believe. Like, I don't know what.
So if the reality is we don't know, then I'm just going to choose not to wear it because in reality, we don't even know.
To me, if you don't know, shouldn't you err on the side of caution?
The mask is like the guy who wears the Patriots jersey when they're playing because it helps them do better. That's what the mask is like. It doesn't do anything, but you got to wear it. You got to put on your Cowboys jersey.
So what would you say to that person if he wore it for 10 times and the one time he didn't wear it, they lost?
I wouldn't say anything. I should have played better that week.
He's like, there you go.
But he's still wrong. That doesn't matter.
And he puts it back on and then they win again. He puts it on for 2 times and wins. And then he takes it off and they lose. It's like, oh my God.
But that's the conspiracy theorist. That's like, I knew it. I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen. Like, well, yeah, that's a hypochondriac. I knew I was sick. Well, yeah, because you're always saying you're sick. Eventually, you're going to be right.
Like the tombstone verse. You seen that?
I told you I was sick. But it's that. It's all superstition and it's a security blanket. It's a security blanket at this point.
It's not superstition if there's like studies.
Oh, okay.
There's studies.
My bad.
There's studies, Dwayne. Studies.
The mask is as much superstition as evolution, and the mask are an equal footing to me as superstition.
Studies.
There's studies that say that I came from a fish, and I don't hold those as valid either.
How dare you disagree with the God of science?
I'm a science denier.
You bow down to science. Science says. That's what I'm reading Guns, Germs, and Steel right now, and man. There's so much taken for granted. There's so much that's just like no explanation for that. Just yeah. And I love phrases like when I say I love, I mean totally am mystified by. I love phrases like natural selection chose.
Right.
I'm like, what? They attribute so much agency and person and choice to supposedly 100% random things,
right?
You know, mutations, evolution, all you know, variations in evolution and things like. Well, there's like a guided, directed purpose for this thing that's supposed to be random, and like so much so that they can't even escape the language of purpose.
Right?
Is natural selection chose this, or there was enough. This happened often enough that natural selection chose this way, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like you're talking about a God. You're talking about
their God,
like directed, purposeful, guided.
Yes.
Reason. There's no reason to how things evolve. They could have evolved the other way, you know. But that's
there shouldn't be any reason, and yet this is still the supreme authority that we decided is in charge of everything. Science.
Well, it's because it goes back to presuppositions. Like we start with a godless worldview. These are some conclusions you come to. Like Carl Sagan in the beginning of Cosmos, right? In the book and in the television show, the first phrase that's uttered is the cosmos are, all that ever was, and all that ever will be. And then like, on with the show. And it's like, well, yeah, if you start with that baseless premise, then sure, these are some of the conclusions you can reach.
So how is the masks any different from we need to reduce our carbon footprint so that we don't become victims of climate change?
Well, the masks. I can at least can follow the scientific method. Evolution can't. It's not repeatable.
Right, but I'm not even talking about evolution at this point. I'm talking about the virtue signal of, do you drive a Prius? Because that helps reduce your carbon footprint so that we don't melt the ice caps and we don't all die.
But is it true that driving a Prius reduces your carbon footprint?
It doesn't matter. It's the virtue signal.
But it is true. But I know, but it can be a virtue signal thing, but also true at the same time.
Right.
And depending on why you're doing it, that depends on the intent of you, but it's still true that it reduces your carbon footprint. So wearing a mask, it could be true that two people wearing a mask standing 10 feet apart will not contract COVID.
Because of the mask specifically?
Yes, and 6 feet apart. So are you kidding me? Two people wearing a mask standing 10 feet apart, and one of them has corona, the chances are dramatically reduced.
Okay, what if they're standing 10 feet?
Then two people talking face to face at a table like this.
What if they're standing 10 feet apart and they don't have a mask on?
Also, but a mask would be helpful too.
But you're 10 feet apart. 6 feet is a safe space. What's the point of the mask?
But I would say even 4 feet apart wearing a mask
that's too close.
Reduces. I know, but what if two people wearing a mask? It reduces the odds of a transmission.
Oh, it's absurd. It has to be the N95, and no one has the N95. That's the thing.
Oh, the cloth. So there's filters in the cloth mask. Like I thought mine was like just cut from a T-shirt from my grandmother, but my stepdad was saying no, she put like a filter in there.
Yeah, but what filter? Like your grandma's got the hook
mesh. It's a magic it's just a mesh.
Yeah, you got carbon fiber in there.
If I go like this and talk to you, that's better than me going like this and talking to you. No, it's not filter, it's not N95, whatever. Like this technically is something.
No, but
it's something rather than nothing. I'm not saying we should. I'm not trying to say like, oh, we should all be wearing masks.
No, but you're giving credence to the idea that it does something.
It does something. I don't think it's going to solve corona, but I think it does something.
The only thing it does is make everyone around you a little bit less uncomfortable. And I have zero care about that.
I think if you're wearing a mask, you can't be like hugging people. It's not that. It's not like, oh, it's going to completely save you. Like but if you're social distancing and the masks, that is a good recipe for staying.
I hate the term social distancing with every fiber of my being.
What else we call it? Whatever, dude. Let's just.
You don't call it anything, man. I hate it. I hate the idea behind it. I hate everything that the modern world has turned into.
I mean, I hate it too. I mean, like I don't like this world, but it's what we're living. I want to go to Barnes and Noble, man. Like I want to go shopping. I still want them to lock down again. That's the thing too. Is like
that's gonna happen.
No, but see that. But if you wear wear a mask or lock down. Okay, I'll wear a freaking mask. You know what I mean?
Okay, but that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be wear a mask and we're gonna lock down.
See, then if there's no options, then that just sucks.
Of course, there's no options. Why do we think there's options? There hasn't been options.
There's an option right now. Wear a mask or don't come in.
There hasn't. Have you been anywhere lately? They have stepped that back.
I see people without masks.
Walmart changed their banner. At first they had that you have to have a mask to get inside. Then they put up it's recommended but not required, and they put the other one back up this week. They're like, no, you gotta have it.
It's only like so they can put a sign that says it's required, but if no one enforces it, then you're giving them the option. That's the thing too. Like if you're gonna make it a rule, you have to walk up to people and be like, "Sir, do you have a mask?" Or like have someone at the door like, "You can't come in. Sorry, we have a security guard there." They're gonna have to cause a scene if they walk in, but or not, or just don't enforce it and let people choose for themselves. And I prefer the latter. But
that's not what's going on. Like that's not the reality. It's some old man getting tripped up by a guy at Walmart down the aisle.
That was nuts. I thought that was you. He's like, oh. Did you see someone smack Judge Nelson Wolff?
Yes, I did see that. I cheered a little bit. I was like, yeah. About time.
They told him to put a mask.
Well, no, the best part.
No, the guy's in jail for life.
It was an insult because I don't know what the judge was trying to do, but the guy's arguing with the cashier, like, I don't have a mask and I'm not going to go get a mask. And the judge is like trying to intervene and he tries to give him his business card. Yeah. And the guy's like, I don't want your card. And just slaps it out of his hand. That's so funny. And so much more insulting.
Jail. The rest of your life.
I
have to pull. You know who I am. Yeah. You know who I am. You see those videos like some congressman gets pulled over or something. You better run these plates, buddy boy. You know you're pulling over.
I can't. I've had it with Wolf.
I'm on the no mask train too. I don't want to wear a mask. No one wants to wear a mask. What it
is? You still want to be able to do stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if that's my choice, wear a mask or stay home, I'm gonna wear a mask.
Right. You got. I need you to be.
I'll take choices as long as I can.
No, I need you to be more like me and like. No, you know what? We are gonna cause a scene.
It's not worth it to me. I don't want to go to jail because I want to.
No, you don't go to jail. You might get banned from one Barnes and Noble.
I'll get blacklisted. They're gonna have my mask face on.
The no mask. They're gonna make you pull it down so they can see you.
Yeah. Just see my face. Do not serve this man.
The Office, just the Polaroid on the back wall. Oh, I hate it.
The wall of shame.
The wall of shame is you. Like,
this man. Do not sell books to this man.
They're gonna have you holding like a theology book too, just to add to the stigma.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Like a anti-evolution book.
Yeah, it's just
look at this man. He's a science denier. He's not allowed near books.
Oh man, but it drives me crazy. I can't deal with anything right now. I'm just at the limit. I feel like that's why I called it. I am Jack's seething Christian discontent or whatever I called it. It's just so.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm so fed up at this point. It's like the Edward Norton thing. It's like everything is.
So that was the thing too. Like y'all were talking. You and I we were talking about like limits and when do you say no and all these things. And it's like, you were talking about like John Knox and stuff and like
right.
Martin Luther and stuff. It's like, well, that's completely different. That is completely different. If they're saying you cannot read your Bible, well, okay, that's my no limit, of course. Or you cannot pray, or you cannot worship in any way. You cannot share the gospel. You cannot like China or something. Yeah, there's some requirement for dissent.
Now I
see my old college ID.
Did you have the David Crowder still, or was that after that?
I think I still had it, but I tried to. It was actually toned down. So it was at college. My college ID, the first one, I was like, ID pictures are never good. I figured ID pictures are just always, I don't know what it is. You're just never good. So I was like, I'm just gonna lean into it. And so I was taking my picture, and I'm like. And they were like, they take the picture, and he's like,
you happy with this?
He's like, let's take another one. He's like, oh, let's take another one. So I was like, so my college ID like literally is this like.
Oh, that's beautiful. So okay, but okay, inside baseball. When I was in my small group this week, they were saying that the government is kind of handing down these ideas that like, hey, church gatherings, you're going to have to wear the mask to be together.
But you can be together and share the gospel.
I mean, share the gospel. We're all kind of already, we're in there.
See, that still isn't like a prohibition against Christian things to me. Like, I mean, I don't, and I like, Margie's, she said, well, I have a 90-year-old mom and I'm not taking a chance on having her get the virus. We stay home by choice. Is that something to think about of like, yeah, you and your immediate family might be okay, but what if I visit my mom who's got, immune deficiency disease, It's like, okay, well, I want my kids to go see my mom, so I don't want them to get it. So let me keep a mask on. And that's more common than you think.
Right. Well, I know.
Who you might come in contact to.
I'm immunocompromised, and I'm still not swayed by that argument. Because it's like,
okay, but again, that's you. But you're talking about who you might transmit it to. Or get sick or something. The day before you hit symptoms, you go see someone. And now they're sick. It's like, well, that wasn't their choice.
When I'm sitting in the office of my doc, like my endocrinologist, I'm sitting in his office and we're talking about all this stuff. And he goes, yeah, like if you got it, you'd be sick for 2 weeks and you'd be fine. And I was like,
you
talking to me? And he's like, yeah. You're talking to the guy.
But people worse off than you. That's what I'm saying. Like you can come in contact with people who that's not the case. When if they do get it.
Right.
And that's the thing with this disease. It's hitting people so differently. Like that guy, Michael Yo. Like he was that guy Michael Yo, a comedian, was on Joe Rogan, and he's like a fit dude. He like played football in college and stuff, and he was wrecked for a week, like terrible, like horrible. But then his like 7-year-old mom got it, and she was good in 2 days. But what if those were reversed?
But that's true all the time.
No, but I'm saying no, it's not. I'm saying like that's not how. Like if pneumonia hits you, it's gonna hit you. This is hitting people differently. Like it hit this in shape dude a week in the hospital. His 7-year-old mom. It hit her 2 days. She was fine. You didn't even go to the hospital. But what if those were reversed? Those could have very well been reversed.
Yeah, but they weren't. So it doesn't matter.
But they can be, and they have been.
That. But
they have been.
That's true about everything.
No, it's not.
That's true.
No, it's not. The flu hits you like the flu. That's pretty consistent.
If you get hit by the flu.
But this is so inconsistent of how it hits people. You don't know how it's going to affect you. You know how the flu is going to affect you.
Right, but the whole thing with the flu, okay, so last year, 2 years ago, it had to be last year, we took Gerard to get a flu shot because they're like, I don't want to get the flu. We took him to get a flu shot. He was the only one that got the flu.
Well, yeah, but that's consistent, though. That's a consistent thing. But when you get the flu, it's not like, you might have a cough for a couple of days, or you might be hospitalized for a week. You kind of know how it's going to hit people.
But it's also like, well,
this isn't like that. This is people differently.
What I'm saying is all of us, if he had it, we were all exposed to it at some point, and he was the only one that got it. He was also the only one that got the flu shot.
Yeah.
So the unpredictability is still there in every situation. Like there's no 100% situation where it's like, well, this won't affect me, guaranteed.
But this is so new. We're still learning how it's affecting people, and a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk of like, yeah, sure, I run every day and I could be fine, but then I give it to my mom who has immune deficiency disease, and like, I don't know how it's going to hit her, so I'm not going to take that chance. Right, like, but that's millions of people who have a parent, who have a friend or somebody who like I don't want to just be laissez-faire all the time because I don't know how it's going to hit me or the person I give it to or whatever. So I'll wear a freaking mask. Right, but
because of that, everybody has to do it. Everybody has to live like me because of my.
But there's so many. But I'm saying you have people in your life like that. Everybody has somebody in their life like that who we're kind of really rolling the dice of how if we give it to them, you know. So it's not just like I'm going to think about myself, because if that were the case, then I'll just stay home or whatever. And a lot of people are. But it's like, who could I give it to? Who in my circle of people, you know, who can I not go visit now? Who can I not whatever, because I don't know if I'll get it or whatever. So that's what people are thinking about. And I think that's what's leading to a lot of it's not just mask, no mask, my rights, my not rights. It's a nuanced look. Talk about having a nuanced look, detailed look. That's a detailed look of this thing.
Right. But what it becomes at that point is this person's safety is your responsibility.
To an extent, it is. So, to some people, like my mom's safety is my responsibility. I'm not going to just go riot in the street, do the Macarena with a bunch of protesters in the street, and then go immediately visit my mom. You know what I mean? Like, that's irresponsible.
Stay there. It's not in the immediate circle. It's like all of your responsibility is my safety. My safety is everybody's responsibility.
But that is the case for a lot of things, like speeding. I can drive really well, so I can go 80 miles an hour. No, it's not just you, right? Yeah, you might be a good driver, but you're going 80 miles an hour. You're putting other people at risk at the same time. So there is other people's safety is to an extent our responsibility on some level all the time.
Speeding is by far more deadly than not wearing a mask. Like they're not.
Not if I'm a really good driver. See, that's the thing. It's like, I'm healthy. I'm a good driver. But it doesn't matter. But it's
not even that. It's not that I'm healthy. It's the idea that like, okay, the information that we got ahead of time was wrong. And the more that comes out, the more of it appears to be incorrect.
The information's a problem. The problem. The whole asymptomatic transmission, that's a huge,
that's everything.
What the heck? Because if I'm going to have a fever, I'm not going to go visit my mom.
Right.
You know, if I have a cough, I'm not going to go visit my mom. But if I feel completely fine,
you still can't.
It's like, but if you're saying it's extremely rare for me to give it to her, if I feel totally fine, then I can go visit her. You know, because I might have it and it's still not transmitted.
And that's still the argument in place. You have to wear a mask because you don't know if you have it. You could just be asymptomatic. Well, apparently, if I'm asymptomatic, that doesn't matter.
So this really comes down to like information, truth. How do we know what's true?
Yes.
And
that's what it comes down to.
But I mean, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like, I don't want to wear a mask.
Right, but I don't want to wear a mask because the truth.
We don't know what's true.
That it's pointless.
But could the truth be that it really is helping?
If the truth was that it really was helping, then yes, let's wear them. But the truth doesn't seem to be there. That's the thing.
Now you're making a truth decision. You say we don't know. Now you're making it say you do know.
No, I'm saying the information that you said we don't know. I'm pretty certain that we have some solid evidence that we were wrong about most of what we said.
No, man, they're so like wishy-washy on everything. That's my biggest problem is they don't know what to believe. You know.
So why are
a million people are going to die? Okay, let's wear a mask.
Turns out we overstated it.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay. It's like, it turns out we didn't really overstate it. It is dangerous. So I don't know what.
But we don't, like, just statistically, we're not seeing that play. Like the city we live in, right? we have the number of cases, we have the number of fatalities, which apparently the number of fatalities were also inflated because now they've admitted that they were counting death with COVID as death from COVID. So the numbers are all wishy-washy.
You see the Elon Musk thing on Rogan about that?
No.
Like they're kind of talking about. He's making a lot of good points about like the symptom, the corona diagnosis symptom for diagnosis was like a mile long.
Right.
Like if you have a headache.
Right.
You got corona. Like what? I thought like
maybe
so it's like they're not even testing people's blood to see if they have like the corona and the antibodies or whatever, the actual virus. It's like, oh, your symptoms match this huge list of corona. You got it.
Which also matches everything else.
Well, but he had an interesting take on it, Elon Musk, because he was saying like, look, your hospital is mandated to take only COVID patients. Well, the guy who shaves people for surgery, you can't pay him anymore. That nurse or that person or whatever, the anesthesia, like the X-ray, whatever. Like there's a lot of people like they were laying people off. They were laying off nurses.
Yeah.
And hospitals were firing nurses and stuff because they can't treat, a respiratory illnesses and stuff. So maternity nurse, whatever, So the hospital managers were faced with a decision. It's like, wait a second, you tell me I put corona on this death certificate, I get $30,000 from the government.
Right.
I can keep my staff. That's the position that the hospital managers are put in. And it's like, I'm probably going to write COVID on here so I can keep paying my nurses who didn't do anything wrong who are now fired, So I think there was a lot of that going on. Of people dying with corona rather than dying of corona. Like George Floyd had corona.
Right. Yeah, I saw when that came out.
Was he a corona patient?
But that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Maybe they had good intentions.
And that's the headline of 2020, right? George Floyd killed with coronavirus. That's the 2020 headline. Like, oh my God.
My favorite was the one that was like, imagine if you've been in a coma for 10 years and you woke up and saw this headline, and it was a headline that said, Ice Cube against canceling Paw Patrol. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know how, I was thinking about it. I don't know how South Park exists still. No one's talking about South Park.
No. Well, they skated under the radar for so long. They're like an institution now.
But they embody everything that's offending people right now and getting canceled.
Like they have the running joke about school shootings.
Well, they have a Cartman superhero. I can't even say.
Yeah, you can't say the name.
Which was a regular feature on the show.
Yeah, like, there's a video game. It's a video game based on it. You can't.
But there's a certain level of like, oh, we're making fun of racism, and but it's like, nope, you've done it. It's it. Like there was I think it was Washington Post had a staffer who went as, there was a Halloween party, and she went as Megyn Kelly in blackface because Megyn Kelly said something about blackface not being that big of a deal or something. Right. So they were making fun of her racist stance by being Megyn Kelly in blackface.
It was like a
Well, because the theme of the Halloween party was how outrageous can your costume be?
She won, clearly.
Right? No, yeah, she won. She's out of a job right now.
Was the prize a job? If not, it wasn't worth it.
She lost, yeah, because she got fired because of that for like years ago, or whatever. And it's like she was parody of racism is now racism.
Yes,
that's what it is. But that's South Park. That's like 30 Rock had some blackface thing again, parodying racism. Like, hey, look how stupid and horrible these people are. Let's laugh at their idiocy because they're in blackface. Oh, we did blackface. You're canceled.
Tropic Thunder. The whole movie and the whole joke is about the ridiculousness of like celebrities and method acting and all that. Like, it's a good joke, but it's still blackface.
Yeah, canceled.
You couldn't make. Oh man, like we've lost everything as a nation. You couldn't make Tropic Thunder. No, at all.
Well, because that's not the point. The point is not to save America from the evil of racism.
Right.
The point is to tear down and rebuild something new. That's it. They don't love America and like, gosh, this plague of evil racism, we got to do away with it. That's not it. That's not the goal, and that's very clear. And I think that's extremely clear. That's why I'm like, I'm kind of staying hopeful, because I think people see the hypocrisy. I think people see the absurdity. At least people who vote see the absurdity. Colin Kaepernick don't vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They protest. They take a knee. They make the display, but they don't vote.
How long? How long is that going to be before they are like, you know what? We got to start
It's still
voting.
November.
Yeah. I mean, what are we going to do in November? Can you go vote?
So when? Yeah. Well, see, that's what a lot of people are thinking about with the lockdowns. Kind of the strategy, not conspiracy, but strategy. Oh, I'll wait for Julian because this is good. Yeah, the strategy. I'll practice how I say it, then I'll tell him. The strategy is to keep people locked down so they have to mail-in vote because that's the Democrats' only chance. They're gonna they can't run on Joe Biden, freaking Walking Dead. Can't remember his own name. Winning the strength of their candidate. No, the Democrats are not going to win on the strength of their candidate. They're going to win on voter fraud with mail-in voting. They're going to win on mail-in voting because of lockdowns in November and a bunch of people writing in votes for their parents. A bunch of young college students writing in votes for their parents or vice versa and jacking up those Democrat numbers because Democrats don't win elections. And I think the insanity and hypocrisy of the Democratic Party and the left right now is so insane, tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln, Grant, and Washington. These people hate America, and nobody wants to vote for that. You're talking about an American election. They're tearing down and defacing and decapitating abolitionist statues does not win you an election in America. So I think this lockdown is going to be a strategy that's used for voter fraud or mail-in votes or whatever, because that's kind of the only chance that Democrats have. So I think after November, COVID is going to magically go away or not be a big deal anymore. We can go back to work. But yeah, so which is going to be really insane when Trump wins in a landslide. Because I think that's what's going to happen. And I think people really aren't expecting that. And they're going to lose their freaking mind when that happens. So, or buy a gun. Did you hear me? Oh, everything I said?
I heard some of it. So, one of the reasons that it got kind of close to home for me too, especially that day, because at this point, the day I had to go to the post office, I was done. But when I got
every day I go to the post office, I'm like, humanity's over. Post office.
But before I could get in and out, and this time they made me sit there and seethe in it, and I hated it. There was as I'm driving home, right outside, we live in an apartment complex. Right outside our gate is the sidewalk, and then a bunch of telephone poles. And on the telephone poles are stapled all these posters for specific ideologies that are not exactly in line with my own. And so at that point, I was like, oh, well, now it's like right here. Like it's right here on my block, on my neighborhood. Like it's not, I guess before,
it's literally hitting close to home.
Right, literally hitting a stone's throw away. Because before it was like, well, that's happening over there, right?
Yeah.
Like that's happening in Chicago. That's happening in it's not here.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that here. No, it's right. It's on the street. It's right here.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I heard. Like, we're coming to the suburbs.
Yeah.
We're coming to get you.
Like, what do we have?
My gated community.
My gated community. Raise the fences higher.
Did you see that? Did you see that guy, that ESPN reporter guy?
Oh, yes.
You see that? I forget who it was, but he was like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. We're right on. And then, like, they were right outside. He's like, someone needs to come get these thugs.
But that's we're always on board until it's right here.
So
I like to say that I did maybe not the most level-headed thing because I was already at the end of my rope at that day.
Oh, geez.
But I parked the car and I saw it right, and it's literally like, here's the fence, here's the telephone pole, signs right on it. So I parked the car and I got out and I was like, I've had it, I'm done. And I reached over and I grabbed the sign and I pulled it off. Right, I was like, this is enough. And then I got yelled at by 2020. Because a guy driving by rolled down his window and pulled off his mask to yell obscenities at me for pulling the sign down. So I felt attacked by the year. It was so ridiculous.
I thought you were saying like freaking Chris Hansen jumped out of the bushes and we're like, sir.
No, not that.
Was that Dateline?
The year, not the show, yeah.
2020.
John Stossel came out and did
Yeah, what would you do if you saw a Black Lives Matter sign? Can you explain yourself, sir?
What's John Stossel doing right now? We need to bring him back.
No, that guy. Yeah, he doesn't do what would you do. That's that one guy.
Yeah, didn't he? Oh no, it is the other guy. Yeah,
Forget his name.
I think Stossel went to Fox News and he got canned after that.
John Stossel's the guy who got slapped by that wrestler guy, right?
Yeah, great moment. Oh, I love
it. Is this real?
Oh,
this is fake. He had to be asking for that. Saying, I think wrestling's fake to a wrestler. What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna slap you.
Well, especially in the '80s, that dude's all roided out and coked up. What do you think's coming?
Does that feel fake?
The best part, my favorite part of that whole story is that he got fired for that, the wrestler, and he was like, I thought I was going to get a raise for defending the industry. It's like, no, man. You slapped the TV reporter. You're fired.
He didn't pull.
He wasn't working.
He didn't leave
it. There was a
Rollo Rivera. That's a Rollo Rivera. I thought it was Stossel.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Stossel. I'm like 90% sure it's Stossel.
Yeah.
There was a wrestler in his name was Big Van Vader. He was on Boy Meets World when they did the wrestling episodes.
You're talking about Donald Trump to me.
Okay, well this dude
he's to come out of a Trump rally. Like,
well, they were in Kuwait, right? So you're in the Middle East, you're already on your P's and Q's. And the reporter in the Kuwaiti morning show did the same thing.
Oh, jeez.
And he was like, oh, well, it's fake, right? And this dude was like, well, I have to.
Fake? What?
Yeah. And so he grabs the Kuwaiti reporter. He's like, you're saying it's fake? And like smashed the table on the set and everything. And he got arrested in Kuwait.
Taken hostage by Al Qaeda.
Basically. And he was terrified. He was like, well, this is how I die. This was a bad move. Like, yeah, no kidding.
Wrestling is fake, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I'm more than aware. I'm gonna come through the street.
Yeah. No, what I was saying about we're talking about the election or something. Talk about strategy versus conspiracy. Yeah, how you're gonna vote? Oh yeah, how people are gonna vote. That's a big thing. I think the only chance the Democrats have is a mail-in vote, because then all these young woke people can write in votes for their parents, or vice versa, and that because they're not going to win on the strength of their Walking Dead candidate Joe Biden.
No,
like they just like he's a corpse. They
it's
can't.
Horrible.
Well, people are really like he's declining.
Yeah,
like what's going on? This is the candidate. So when Trump wins in a landslide in November. And that's weird. I think a lot of people are not expecting that. That's my biggest fear. Is like a lot of people are like, Trump's done. Look at the riots. Look at the movement we're making. Look at the progress. You can't win. And it's like, bro, like you're making the same 2016 mistake.
Yes.
Of overlooking, thinking you got it in the bag. The race riots and Black Lives Matter movement right now is the Hillary of 2020.
Yes.
They say, I don't gotta go to the polls. Look at this. What more proof do you need? The entire system's racist. Everything's bad. Trump's a racist. He's terrible. I don't gotta vote. Boom. Trump wins in a landslide. Like,
I thought for sure, like I was expecting this year that there was gonna be like actual fights at the polls. I was like, it's that high pitch right now. There's gonna
if this kind of goes into, I mean, that's what, man, if we keep reacting, like I said before, if we keep reacting the way we're doing now to spikes, we're going to lock down for the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Because, look, we're going to lock back down and people are going to not give a crap and go out and do stuff for 4th of July. Same Memorial Day situation where people went barbecue, people did stuff, and there's no situation where we reopen and there's no spikes.
Right.
So normal reopening, you're going to see spikes.
Right.
Try and reopen after 4th of July, we're going to see spikes. So if we respond this way, that takes us into August and September. Well, now it's flu season. Now weather's changing, and this thing is stronger as it was in the spring or whatever. So then you're going to see more spikes because of flu. And now people have been locked up for 6 months. Their immune system drop. They're going to catch a cold. They're going to get a fever. They're going to get the flu. They're going to get all these other old diseases that are already out there, even more now because we spent all summer inside.
At that point, who cares too? Because okay, I've lost my job. I can't pay rent anymore. Like landlords stop charging rent forever.
It's going to be this start-stop thing, all year, which means like lockdown, mask, freak out all year, or at least until the election. When Trump wins in a landslide, people are going to be like, well, we're done. It's over now. We lost the game. COVID. Oh yeah. COVID's fine now, guys. Don't worry.
You think it'll be that fast? Do you think that'll be the switch like that if he wins it?
It's either that or complete anarchy, take up arms, insane, your front door riots and craziness.
I mean, the Chaz that's like going on. They're blocking off,
But see, Chaz is like I'm not so worried about that because they just defeat themselves. Like 2 shootings and a death in Chaz, like in a week of this socialist utopia.
They're out of supplies already.
They're out of supply. Yeah, this autonomous zone had a laundry list of needs they needed from other people. So yeah.
Well, I guess what makes me angry about it at that point, this is where I came home kind of seething, and I had a lot of discussions about this as the day went on with people here.
Yeah, I think that's true, Marge. An impeachment or some kind of like illegitimate, he stole it, Russia again, or somebody. It's going to be some kind of like, we're going to give you another 2 years of illegitimate election, and it's all rigged. And
your losses, and like, all right, we'll take the L.
But that's the thing. That's like why Kaepernick doesn't vote, because he thinks it's rigged. Okay, well, as long as you think that, Republicans are going to keep taking the elections. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's voter fraud. Oh, it's fraud. We don't even take ID. You don't keep records of vote. How would you even know if there's voter fraud? You know what I mean? You need an ID for everything but voting.
Yeah.
So, well, how would you even know if there's voter fraud going on?
What's weird? I went to vote, and I was like, at the midterm elections last year, and I was like, I think I registered, but I am not 100% sure if I registered or not. So when I get there, I'll ask them, and they tell me I'm not registered. I go home. It's not a big deal.
My license was still at my parents' address.
So you're not even in the right district or whatever for your.
Well, I drove to that district to vote. In that district, and voted, and they were like, "Is this your current address?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay."
We're gonna have to edit this part out.
I only voted once.
Are you voting in 1930? They had it coming out of ticker tapes.
Yeah.
No, I got there, and I told
Chad on the little poke
you're the reason
the little Scantron, whatever it was. The hanging Chad or the pregnant Chad or whatever.
So when I got to the poll, I told them, I was like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm registered. Is there any way to tell me if not? Because if not, it's not a big deal.
That was kind of my thing too. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if they didn't care. They were just like, sign your name here and go vote. And I was like, okay.
Well, I was in the apartment, and then we moved from one unit to another unit. Right. So my address technically changed, but it kind of didn't. But so I was getting mail, and it wasn't whatever. And then so my license, I didn't go to the DMV because screw the DMV.
Go to the DMV.
And so I just did it online. Well, if you do it online, you can't change any information. You can't retake your picture. You can't change your address, whatever. It's just a re-up on what's on your license. Right. So I did that because it was more convenient. I'm allowed to. That's what you did. I didn't live there. So, but I only voted in that thing. So, but who cares? Like that district or my district, I still just one vote in San Antonio. So same county, same, whatever. So I did think it was kind of weird because I was like, well, I'll try and vote it because that's what my license says. That's where I voted 4 years ago, whatever. So I'll try and go vote there again. If they say something, then I'll go where I need to fill out whatever paperwork. But then I just gave my license, and they were like, "Oh, this address is that your current address?" And
that's 100% true. That's honestly
what Hispanic.
No,
I walk in, they're like, "Get this guy's vote out."
No, I'm for sure. Dude, I walked in looking like this. I walked in looking like this. Like, let him vote 3 times. Open the machines, whatever you want.
Julian Garza? 4 votes.
I wore a poncho just to make sure I got in more.
I'm going to vote. Yeah.
I had an elote in one hand.
Luchador mask and shave your mustache, vote again.
Dude, okay, so that's one of the things that makes me laugh about even immigration policy and stuff is like, I remember when we were traveling, when I was still wrestling, when we were traveling, we'd go to El Paso, and when you come back, you have to pass a border checkpoint. And the first time I was like, this is testy, man. I don't know if we're going to make it. But it's literally like you roll up and you crack your window, and the cop is like, "Is everybody American?" And you go, "Yeah." He's like, "Roll through." Like there's no security going on at all. Yeah. See. Go. He might as well be doing a crossword puzzle. Doesn't care. I'm tired of everything. I've hit my limit.
Yeah, man. I think we're just gonna take a mulligan on this 2020.
This year we're starting over.
Just scratch this year. 2021 will be our year.
Oh man, but I feel like okay, so the the point where I got to where I came home fed up, I was like, there has to be something that we can do, right? And not so much in the sense of like, well, we need to turn the government or we need to blah blah. Like, yes, vote, do all that stuff. That's fine. But like ultimately, post-millennial hope is not that idea. It's the idea of the gospel, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's where I get into this whole like America.
Right.
Like America could end tomorrow, and that would do nothing for the advancement of the gospel and Christianity in the kingdom. Like reading this Guns, Germs, and Steel right now. It's talking about these civilizations. It's like, oh, and they such and such for 5,000 years, whatever. It's like 5,000 years. Yeah. Holy crap! Like that was a civilization, or that was a society, or like Rome, or like what
Right.
And it's
Rome.
like we're like barely broke 200 years as a legit nation, and it's like that's nothing. That's nothing. We're so fragile. We're so like America could just be this blip in human history where like, oh yeah, they had some good ideas, the founding fathers in the Bible and stuff, and yeah, that was a good time, but things changed and that ended, and then it was this empire. Empires rise and fall, right, and that we have to get out of our head that like Jesus is coming on the 4th of July 2025, right? Like, take the American people home. We gotta get that out of our heads. America can end tomorrow, and we're on to something else. And Christianity is not going to catch. Christianity has lived through the empire's rising and fall the last 2,000 years, and the Jews, taken into exile, God's chosen people. No nation, no land, wandering in the desert, whatever. We could have you know what I mean? Like we could still like go through these like fits and starts of slow but gradual progressive advancement of the kingdom on earth. And so America be just like this blip in this advancement of the kingdom.
And I guess that's where I came to at the end of it, because I was talking about it and I was saying like, if we're not gonna fight with the gospel for the gospel, we might as well not do anything. Right, like it's pointless to just fight.
It's nice to have the freedoms and luxuries while we have them, sure, but like we can't put our faith in that as America. Like fall into this patriotic idolatry where America is this divine land of God's chosen people of promised land of America. Like that's just not the case.
That's where the binary falls, because it's sides. It's like, okay, are you Trump or are you not Trump? And it's like, well, neither. I'm not fighting for God King Trump. Like that's not.
Yeah, Trump. Like
or any president that may be coming down the pike. It's like, okay, ultimately he's just a blip, and it doesn't matter. Like I don't want to argue with these things politically because I have a slight distaste for them, or philosophically I disagree with you on this point, or I think fiscal conservatives is better. But ultimately because, well, the gospel is the answer to the societal ills that we have, and anything else is going to be not accomplishing that goal.
Yeah.
So I guess, and looking back on what I did, I don't want to be the person that causes a scene because I don't want to wear a mask. But I also feel like to say that, well, that's irrelevant to the gospel is short-sighted.
Well, I think we got to keep in focus kingdom principles over American principles. Mm. Right. And sometimes they cross, like inalienable rights and like endowed by a creator. Like, sure, those are kingdom principles that America happened to get right, but that doesn't mean everything that America says is in line with the gospel and like our status as citizens of the kingdom of God. Like that should come first over my rights or my Bill of Rights or my declaration, whatever, Constitution. Constitution is not a God-breathed document, but of Scripture.
You're telling me
we have Scripture, right? And that's what we should hold to with those principles of advancing the kingdom for the gospel, for God, and that transcends America, that transcends nation, ethnicity, race, whatever, you know. And that's, you know, we are Christians and citizens of the kingdom of God before we are citizens of America, before we have rights and principles of United States or whatever. We have kingdom principles of God, biblical things. That's where you start landing into love thy neighbor, care for others. What does that mean? Who could you put at risk? What's, you know, who cares about your freaking constitutional rights or whatever at that point, you know? So I don't know. I mean, we, you know, as citizens of the kingdom, we should appear to be and truly be caring for others.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like, whatever, I'm going to err on that side. And that's kind of, you know, how our church has kind of filtered this is like, look, we don't want to be like erring on the side of my constitutional rights. We want to err on the side of compassion and care for kingdom and the gospel in life overall. So
the area where I bristle is always like, we want to appear to be caring for other people. And this is how I say that you have to be appearing that you care for other people. And it's like, well, I disagree with you on that point, so I don't want to do that. And I know that's, you know, we're
yeah.
But that's where it comes down to. It's like, okay, well, are you telling me this because you've decided that it's the way we have to do it, or because it's actually true?
No, I mean, it's just like where the science is swaying at the moment, you know, or like whatever the studies and research is showing that puts people in most harm or whatever. Like, I don't know, like that, you know, I'm going to argue with that with what, you know, my Google searches or whatever.
I feel like you're not the one to argue with most things, though. Like, if it's gonna cause, I'll do it. I feel like that's
but again, it goes back to that like spectator of America culture, politics stuff is just like, I'm not going to get too invested because that's not the real point, you know, like, oh, Trump's elected. Cool. Oh, Biden's elected. Cool. Like, or whatever, like, you know, there's certain things that swing certain ways or whatever, as far as freedom and rights and comfort. But I mean, what if Christianity becomes illegal? What are you going to do? Who cares? I'm still going to be a Christian. Like, that has nothing to do, like, whatever America says about Christianity or true righteousness, biblical truth, I don't give a crap. I know what the Bible says, and I know what God says, and I'm going to follow that. If it happens to fall in line with what's comfortable and in line with cultural with America, great. If it doesn't, whatever. I'll serve him from jail. You know, like, whatever. Like, that's how we got to look at it, as this like tunnel vision of like, I'm going to look at this through a biblical Christian perspective. And if that happens to align with some American principles, whatever, cool. If it doesn't, whatever. We're China, you know, weed out the fakers, you know, and have some true persecution for true righteousness' sake, you know.
So, okay. So last
like the Matthew 5 thing, you know.
End on here.
Yeah.
Is it ever worth fighting for freedoms?
I think freedom from a biblical perspective is freedom to do it right and to follow God. So as far as freedom, freedom doesn't mean just I get to do whatever I want.
Right.
Freedom is for the purposes of righteousness, right? So for that, yes. But I wouldn't rely on any nation or political structure to define what those freedoms are or what they should be, I guess.
Okay. So when we talk
yes, in a biblical perspective, and like we got to figure that out, you know.
I think that's kind of lost in modern times too, is this idea of unalienable rights endowed by our creator. Like, you have to come at that from the perspective that we have a creator and he has a mandated standard. And if you've lost that, well, then the unalienable rights really don't matter, right? Like, if there's not a standard and there's not a creator, say this.
I mean, I think the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration kind of only make sense in a certain worldview, and I think that leans towards a godly worldview, you know, rather than a godless worldview. Right. I think Marxism and the anarchy and insanity of the left is what you get with a godless, materialist, naturalist worldview. That's the end result. You're trying to remake what humans are.
And that's the danger that we don't want to fall into, because when we talk about Marxism and all of that, it does become my rights, but it becomes my rights of hedonism in a sense. Like, my rights. It's my desires are my rights, and we don't want to.
It's post-truth. Nothing's true. Truth, whatever. And that's just the insanity. It's the rejection and repression of the truth that we know. We exchange the truth for a lie and worship the created thing rather than the creator. Right? I'm going to worship myself. I'm going to worship humanity. I'm going to worship, it's a humanism, it's Marxism, materialism, naturalism, whatever. The created thing rather than the creator. We should lean toward worshiping the creator rather than the created thing. And Margie, Donald Trump is not a Christian. We should vote Christian politicians in. Donald Trump is not a Christian. Not a God-fearing man.
We need to have Christian politicians run first. And then, we should vote him in.
Crenshaw, 2024.
We'll see. He should run in 2020 and just go for it. He's not old enough yet. I don't know what old he is.
That's right. Yeah, 4 years will be old enough. So we're good.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to not start fights with people, but no promises.
Yeah. Be safe.
Everyone, thanks for watching. See you guys.
Bye.